Hola clase. Hi, I'm here today to talk about the bolsa project with you so we have no confusion on how to do it. The instructions are written in Spanish and I wanted to clarify a few things with you about them. As we read through, we can see what is required of us. We need 5 objects that reflect our personality, and we have to do an oral presentation with these 5 objects. We need to identify and describe each article in the bag. So, what else do we need to do? Always we need to read our directions to figure out how we're going to do a project. So let's see. We are going to need to describe our objects with the verbs that we received in class. Our personality verbs over here. We're also going to need to use the yo irregular verbs and reflexive verbs, which can be found here on the green sheet. So we need our green vocabulary sheet to do this project, and we need our yo irregular verbs, which I have the sheet that was handed out in class. And then we need to get a bag. Now the kind of bag that we're talking about is a regular lunch bag. Not a gigantic bag, not a backpack. And the 5 things that you're going to put inside of it should fit. We shouldn't be jamming giant things and carrying them to school. And these 5 things will be something that you consider to represent your personality. So I'm just going to show you what I chose as an example. I chose a little baby because I have 4 kids. I chose a cow because I like to go to the countryside on the weekends, get out of the city. I chose a scuba diver because I like to scuba dive. An airplane, a little toy wooden airplane because I like to travel. And a little plastic dog that looks like my dog, Foxy. There she is. Okay, so I put my things in the bag. They're small, easy to transport. And what's my next step now? What do I do now? I highly recommend getting yourself some handy dandy note cards, because then you'll be able to follow the instructions. And what the instructions say are you need to come up with at least 5 phrases describing each object and how it relates to your personality using, as we said before, the yo irregulars, the reflexives, and the adjectives of personality. So how am I going to keep track of all that as I'm talking about each object in my bag? Well, I made a note card. I wrote a note card for each of my objects. And I went through and I underlined here the verbs I used from the sheets. That way I could keep track to make sure I was following the assignment by using the verbs. So for example, here's the one I did on the airplane. So you're going to have to describe the airplane to the class. Now remember, don't forget, you will not have these note cards when you do your presentation. You will have to do it from memory. Oh no, that's going to be hard. You guys are going to do great. All right, but to practice, I'm going to use my note card. So, I have to identify it. Esto es un avión. Lo escojo porque me gusta viajar. Es divertido viajar y de esa manera no me aburro. Me aburro fácilmente. Me siento alegre cuando estoy viajando. Merezco viajar todo el año. So that would be a sample. And what did I use in my cards? I used an irregular yo, escojo, from escoger. I used divertido from my list. I used aburrirse, a reflexive verb, from my list. And we also have to use gustar and verbs like gustar, like encantar, gustar. And I use those too. Me gusta viajar. Me siento alegre, also from the list. And I underlined them so I knew and I could check myself off to make sure I used enough vocabulary from the list to get full credit. And again at the end, merezco viajar, an irregular yo. So here we have it. And then you would go on, to talk about your next object. Obviously, we don't have time for that right now, but you would do your next object. And be prepared to answer questions from the class, from your classmates, from your teachers, because we may ask you, ¿Por qué te gusta el avión? And we will expect you to be able to answer our questions. So let's see, did we wrap it up? I think we did. Oh, one more important thing. Whenever you're assigned something and there's a rubric on the back, which this has the rubric, this will tell you exactly what you need to do to get a perfect score and how we're going to score you. So please turn your bolsa paper over and read your rubric, and then you can plan your presentation. So hopefully today I have answered all your questions and helped you to have an A+ project, which I know you all can. Note cards are your friend. Get your sheets out. Double check to make sure you're using the vocabulary. Make a note card for each item. Small items. Paper bag. And get ready. I can't wait to watch. Bye-bye.